Okay, this is part 10 of Arthur Schopenhauer quotes. Schopenhauer on thinking. Use the morning wisely. Look on it as an essence of life, as sacred. Evening is like old age. We are languid, talkative, careless. Each day is like a little life. Every waking a little birth. Every morning a little youth. Every going to sleep a little death. I would actually just add my own comments here. I got a lot of personal experience in trying to be highly academically productive, and I've studied all these geniuses and other highly productive people in terms of writing, for example. Everybody's smarter when you first wake up in the morning, so do your most difficult intellectual task and stay at it as long as you can that you feel good. In the afternoon, that's a good time to exercise. Go for a long walk or do whatever other exercise you like to do. And then the evening, it's a good time for social stuff, to have company, to eat dinner and whatever. But that tends to work well for life. Okay, the majority of men are not capable of thinking, but only of believing. And they are not accessible to reason, but only to authority. That's been my experience too. The average person, in my experience, has like close to zero intellectual ability. They simply do whatever everyone else does, and they simply do whatever the authority tells them. And I think that's partly why people get such terrible treatment from conventional medicine, is because as far as the average person is concerned, the doctor knows. But if you actually read on your own, for some diseases, no, it's going to take a lot of experience. You're not going to learn about the retina, what a retinal fellowship surgeon knows, okay? But for coronary artery disease, hypertension, diabetes, you can learn that better on the internet in just a couple weeks of study than your doctor knows it. Okay, but so yeah, most people, though, that would never occur to them that they could actually understand something better than a doctor. And because of that, they just go for whatever the standard protocol is, and very often it's not good. Arthur Schopenhauer, reading is equivalent to thinking with someone else. You can only think about what you know, so you ought to learn something. On the other hand, you can only know what you have thought about. Yeah, you got to read the book, absorb the information, but then you got to analyze it. Most of the information on the internet about nutrition is not true. It's all high-fat phonies, bro science, all that nonsense. Schopenhauer. The amount of noise which anyone can bear undisturbed stands in inverse proportion to his mental capacity, and may therefore be regarded as a pretty fair measure of it. Noise is a torture to all intelligent people. Noise is the most impertinent form of interruption. A great intellect sinks to the ordinary when it is interrupted and distracted, because its superiority depends on its power of focusing all its strength on one theme. Yeah, I would say that that's totally correct. A smart person's thinking about something. Like when I walk around, I'm thinking about whatever it is on my mind. What is the mechanism of atherosclerosis? What really causes weight gain? Whatever it might be. Versus if you listen to music, and the worst is beat music, bump, 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 it pushes the thought out of your brain, or grunge music, any type of music like that. So it's best to have silence. And if you can't have silence, then have some pleasant, low-key, Baroque music in the background, something like Bach or Handel, Telemann, Arcangelo Corelli, something like that. Otherwise, it makes you stupid. Okay, and you should always be trying to learn something when you're just by yourself. If you're in the car, listen to a podcast or an audiobook, because it just adds up. You keep on developing intellectual, versus the average person stagnates. They never read another book after freshman year of high school. And wear ear protectors when if you're going to make a smoothie. I just don't even make smoothies, but if I was, I would do that. Wear ear protectors when you run the garbage disposal on your sink. It's nothing good about going deaf. Lord Chesterfield, steady attention to one object is a sure marker of superior genius. Yeah, genius focuses on something longer. Okay, Arthur Schopenhauer, the ability to learn is most often blocked most efficiently by preconceived opinion. Yeah, most people think the matter's already settled, when very often it's not. Okay, the ordinary man has no sense for general truths. The genius, on the other hand, neglects what is individual. Great men are like eagles. They build their nest on some lofty solitude. A man of genius can hardly be sociable, for what dialogues could indeed be so intelligent and entertaining as his own monologues? To live alone is the fate of great souls. Intellect is invisible to the man who has none. I would say that's a good one right there. Intellect is invisible to the man who has none. So they simply can't see you. To them, it doesn't exist, higher intellect. And it's like, I remember my ex-wife, that's how she would like try to win an argument. She could never in a million years compete with me on logic or knowledge. So she'll just say, you're autistic, you're autistic. And I'm like, that's not the question here. Am I correct about what we're talking about or not? You're autistic. You have to convert it to something emotional, because if it stays logical, I will always win. But if it goes emotional, then she knows she'll probably win. And she usually actually did win arguments, not because she was right, but just because then you go into the whole, I call it the money dance. You don't love me. Why are we together? You're so cheap. My friend's husband pays for the new refrigerator, the new dishwasher. You should pay for it. Okay, Schopenhauer. A man of correct insight among those who are duped and deluded resembles one whose watch is right while all the clocks in town give the wrong time. He alone knows the correct time, but of what use is this to him? The whole world is guided by clocks that show the wrong time. Books have made the development of civilization possible. They are the engines of change. Books are lighthouses erected in the sea of time. Yeah, and that's a problem in the modern world, is that nobody reads books. Very, very few people read books. At least you have the internet where you can put a video, but really good videos are shadow banned or deleted pretty commonly. Okay. Experience of the world is a kind of text to which reflection and knowledge form the commentary. Truth that has merely been learned is like a false tooth. It adheres to us only because it is put on. But truth acquired by thinking of our own really belongs to us. This is the fundamental difference between the thinker and the mere man of learning. Okay, a couple quotes of Schopenhauer on genius. Genius imagines what others can't think of. First, a genius must cast off self-interest to be able to see something in its true objective light. This is a prime condition for doing any great work. Yeah, for just wanting to tell the truth about nutrition and health rather than selling out like the high-fat phonies. Okay, this is the prime condition for doing any great work. That a man pay no heed to his contemporaries, their views and opinions. Thus he can buy centuries of fame by foregoing the applause of his contemporaries. Talent is good at doing what others admire. Lots of people can do this. Genius is rare. Many learned men have read themselves stupid. He's basically saying they read all the time, but they don't ever think. To think well, one must devote time to thinking on one's own. Displaying superior intellect annoys others, and sometimes it's because they think the genius is looking down at them, so they resent the genius. They see it as an insult, a reproach that labels them as dull ignoramuses, and they may seek revenge versus the genius. To be ignored is a favor to geniuses. They will seek to humiliate the genius if possible. People say all manner of things about him. Therefore, men of great ability prefer to be alone. Just as a man who is very smart is resented by other men, a woman who is very pretty is resented by other women. Yeah, before we were going to go out with my ex-wife, she would always say to me, now don't say anything when we go to this place. These people are stupid. They're just regular people of the earth. You and your big mouth, you freak people out. You're saying all kinds of things nobody understands, and it's controversial, and you sound crazy. Just don't say anything. My wife would literally tell me I'm not allowed to talk before we go to these social events, mostly with her family, which was pretty stupid because her family was stupid. So she's afraid that if I start talking, I'll scare them or something. Make her look stupid. All right. We like being around someone famous because we think some of their fame reflects on us in a positive way. Always to see the general and the particular is the foundation of genius. Intellect is invisible to the man who has none. Okay, that's kind of a repeat there. Almost done for today. Okay, here's a good one. All truth passes through three phases. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. The greatest achievements of the human mind are generally received with distrust. Talent works for money and fame. Genius works for motives less easy to determine. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Scholars are those who have read in books, but thinkers, men of genius, world enlighteners, and reformers of mankind are those who have read directly in the book of the world. Every true thinker for himself is so far like a monarch. He is absolute and recognizes nobody above himself. Nothing is valid unless he himself has authorized it. Okay, so that's it for today, part 10. Hope you found that helpful.